Hello and welcome to Soul Sensations here on Soul Radio USA. Today I am chatting with singer, songwriter, music video producer and author, Mr. Teddy Hayes. Hello, Teddy.
How are you, Steve?
I'm great, mate. I'm great. How's yourself?
I'm great. I'm just here in New York in the middle of the cold, doing some few things here.
All right, yeah. I think I know what you're doing, but I'll be asking about that later on, okay? You can correct me if I'm wrong. But let's go back in time, okay? Let's do this. What was it like growing up with Bobby Womack in Cleveland, Ohio? And can you let myself and our listeners interview a few little secrets of what you guys got up to as children, if anything?
Well, Bobby Womack lived 2 streets away from myself when I was growing up in Ohio. And Bobby was kind of a local legend because he was the local boy who did good. He was working with Sam Cooke at the time, and then Sam Cooke died, and he married Sam Cooke's widow, and he just went on to become a great songwriter. And I was acquainted with his brother, whose name was Friendly Womack, who Friendly and I, we would hang out and chat and so forth, because Friendly was originally one of the Valentinos, which was the group made up of the Womack brothers, who recorded the song I'm Looking for a Love, and that was a big hit. And then Bobby wrote He Used to Love Her, but it's all I used to love her, but it's all over now, which became a big hit for the Rolling Stones.
Yes. Now, is it true that I'm going to drop another name here? You were classmates with Arsenio Hall.
Yes, funnily enough, that's very funny. Arsenio Hall used to sit in my class a few seats in front of me. And we were both, kids, and he was telling me that he used to do comedy and magic at kids' parties, and I thought that was amazing. And then we moved and went to different schools, but I knew Arsenio Hall since he was a kid here in Cleveland.
Yeah. Do you still keep in touch with Arsenio?
Say that again?
Do you still keep in touch with each other, or is it like
no, not really? No, we kind of went in different directions. He went Hollywood and TV, and I went to New York.
Yeah. I'm easy good for you. I don't mean to, not embarrass you, but your first venture into the music business was with a band, and you played the clarinet. Now, how old were you, and how did it go?
I was 14, and I was the most horrible clarinet player ever.
Why would you say that?
Because I found it so difficult to keep up with the music, the note reading, and the band, and I know the band teacher thought I was hopeless. He switched me over to percussions, and I think I was a little better. But in those days, if you didn't really pay attention, they would throw erasers at you, and so I got a lot of erasers thrown my way.
Same here, mate. The old blackboard rubber straight in the forehead. And the chalk. Actually, when I took music at school, and I took the trombone, funny enough, and I couldn't play that for toffee. But the trouble is, if you failed at one instrument, at my school, they kicked you out of the music class and didn't give you an option to do another instrument, so I never got any further. But I did get a blackboard rubbers thrown at my head. So, how did you land the start of your professional career in radio as a producer of RFG Atlanta in 75?
Well, I was taking communications at the university, Cleveland State University, where I was a student. And for a summer, they had offered people the opportunity to go to different places to work. And one of the jobs that were located on the board, I think it was called a work study board, was a job in Atlanta, WRFG. So I got the job and went down to WRFG. And in those days, my first job was actually a producer of a jazz radio show, and we would make audio tape from the vinyl, the vinyl record, and then we would splice them together with a razor blade and play the songs that way.
Wow, that would have been difficult. So that's how the early days of editing were. You used to splice with razor blades.
We used to edit, yeah.
Wow, man. That would have been long and painstaking.
Yes, it was, but it was good for concentration, though. It helped you focus, and I did the show every week, and so that was good. I learned a lot about jazz, and I'm still a big, big jazz fan today, and it was all well worth it because it really taught me what being a professional was like. You had to deliver a product, and it had to be right and everything.
So right now in 1976, you moved to Los Angeles. Tell me about the connection with Quincy Jones and also the Brothers Johnson.
Well, what happened was I was working in Dayton, Ohio in '75 for a company that needed a person to be a chairman of their, like a fundraising chairman, and they needed a celebrity. So I contacted Quincy Jones through a guy that I know named Ed Eckstein, who was the son of the famous singer Billy Eckstein. And Ed connected me with Quincy Jones. And I went to Chicago, and I met Quincy, and he was a very, very nice man. And then we got the project going, and my boss was so pleased with me that he told me that I could move to Los Angeles and continue working on the project. While I was out there, of course, I continued to be in contact with Ed and Quincy, and Ed came to me one day and said, look, Quincy's looking for someone to write something in the Brothers Johnson songbook. He said, would you be interested? I said, of course I would. I did it. They liked it. And then the next thing, I got another call. This time, a friend of Quincy Jones' named Pete Long. He had something he was doing, and they needed someone to write something for the stage. He asked me would I like to do it, and of course I said yes, and I did it, and it was a success. And that was how I got started writing for the stage.
Yeah. We're going to be talking about your stage, your screenplay writing and your authoring work. Is that right? In the second part. But excuse me. Now, you became tour manager for Roberta Flack for a while. How did that happen?
That dropped out of the sky. While I was in Los Angeles, I met a producer, a Broadway and film producer named Melvin Van Peebles. And we got on very well, and I was in New York a few months later, and I walked into Melvin's office just to say, hey, I'm New York, how are you? I just wanted to stop by your office to say hello, maybe we get a drink together. That was it. I had no inclination that anything was going to happen. While I was there, the phone rang, and he talked for a few minutes, and I heard him say on the other end of the phone, I might have a guy here who can do the job for you. And he put the phone down, told me about the job, sent me over to meet Roberta Flack that day, which was on a Wednesday. I got the job on the spot. I had to go back to California to sell my car, fold up my apartment, be back in New York the following Monday, and then we flew off to Japan.
Wow.
It was really crazy. It was a very lucky thing to happen to me, and I couldn't have planned it. It's just I was in the right place at the right time, and I had worked and had some experience, and I knew some of what I had to do for the job.
Yeah, it just goes to prove that if you're in the right place, right time, it doesn't matter what experience you have. It's there for you, and you just land it. Simple as.
Exactly.
Now, do you have any funny stories that you are allowed to share with us whilst you were on tour with Roberta Flack?
Oh, there are lots of stories. We had the touring was really frenetic because there were about 14 people in the band, and some people were very well known. Like there was a guy named Mtume who had played with Miles Davis. and also a guy named Michael Henderson who had played with Miles Davis. And Michael Henderson became famous for a song called, I think, You Are My Starship. And Mtume became a big producer for people like Roberta Flack, Donny Hathaway, and Stephanie Mills. And so all of that was part of the experience. And it was a great experience because we went around the world and traveling in limousines and staying in top hotels around the world. And it was a great experience. And I did that for about 18 months. And after I left that job, I came back to New York to work for my friend Melvin Van Peebles, where I really learned to write and produce.
Yeah, that's when it all kicked off, wasn't it? In 1979. Do you want to tell me through a few things? Because 79, you started producing music of your own when hip was just about becoming major. Do you want to talk me through the Funky Constellation and the track Street Talk Madam Rapper, and also what was the connection with Mowgli Russell? Because Mowgli Russell Simmons was the creator of Def Jam Records, is that correct?
Yes. Well, I had a band at the time I was producing called the Funky Constellation. And rap music was on the street, but nobody had really started doing a lot of recording of it. So what had happened, I was walking down the street one day, and I saw these kids with a cassette tape and a beatbox, and they were just dancing like crazy to what was coming off the beatbox. And on the beatbox, there was some guy talking in rhyme to it. Some music was behind him, and he was going bop 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 bop, and these kids are dancing like crazy. So I said, I think I'm going to do something and put this on record. And I had my band, so I went to the band and said, look, we're going to go into the studio and we're going to do this. And the drummer in the band was a guy named Justice Butler. And Justice was younger than the youngest guy of the band. And then we did this song, and Justice said, look, let's put a break beat in the middle. And we said, what? What's a break beat? He said, well, it's just a beat with drums and everything and percussion and everything. Yeah. Okay, let's do it. So we did it, and we didn't think very much of it, but we did it, and people started to like it. We would go and get records pressed up and take them to the record shops ourselves, and it was so popular that we would take records to the record shop, and by the time we got home, the record places had called again said, bring us some more. In 2 days, we sold out. And at that time, the piano player in the band was Paul Chaplin, and who had went to school with Russell Simmons. So he says to me, he says, listen, the guy I went to school with, he's into hip-hop. He might be able to get us some publicity. I said, okay. So I went to meet Russell Simmons. In those days, Russell Simmons was not a mogul. He was a promoter of clubs in the night, clubs, nightclubs. And he promoted hip-hop music in various clubs. And he took me up to a place in the Bronx, a very famous hip-hop club. I forgot what this club was called, gosh. But everybody would be there, DJ Starsky and all these people. This was the big club for hip-hop. And I went in, and it was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it. And then Russell took me to another place, and this was, I guess, around 1 in the morning. And it was amazing that the lines in the radio station were open, and people would call in and request music. So I realized that there were a lot of this kind of hip-hop music around that I didn't even know about. And that was it just grew and grew and grew in popularity. And the funny story that I tell is that Russell says, look, he says, you should stay in hip-hop. This stuff is going to get big. And me thinking I knew a lot more about music than Russell did, I said, nah, Russell, I think this is just a fluke. I don't think this hip-hop will be around more than for a year or two. So I was wrong. I was very wrong, and he was very right.
Oh, crap, he says.
Yeah, well.
Well, I tell you what I'm going to do, Teddy. I'm going to have a little break from music, and we're going to play some of your tracks. And we'll be back with you in about 15 minutes' time. Okay, mate?
Sounds good. Yep.
Hello, and welcome back to part 2 of our exclusive interview with Mr. Teddy Hayes. Welcome back, Teddy.
Oh, thank you for having me on your show, Steve.
I'm truly enjoying it. I'm loving it. Now, earlier we touched on Melvin Van Peebles. Do you want to tell me more about your time with Melvin?
Well, I started working with Melvin in about, I guess 77. And we worked on various projects right up until around 86, 87. Melvin was a major influence because Melvin was the person who really shaped my interest in my skill level, because he was a hard taskmaster, and he gave me a lot of he put me on a lot of projects that really honed my craft as a writer and as a producer. So that was really, really important in my career development, to work with Melvin.
So was Melvin the one that sorted out the program, the stage tribute to Marvin Gaye? I Remember Marvin, or was that your own?
No. That was something that I did once I came to England in '96.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That was the first show that I had when I moved from New York to England. I wanted to do a Marvin Gaye tribute show, and that was the first show I produced in England. No, actually, that was the second show I produced in England, and it toured around UK, and it had some pretty fair success.
So I have to include this part because, as you know, Richard Barnett put us both together. And this is about up-to-date stuff. Let me do this right. You've been also screenplays and books. Now, the other night I was chatting with Richard, and this detective novel that you're doing, the series of detective novels.
Yes.
All right.
I've been doing this series for about 20 years. Devil Barnett. Yes, I started this series in '97, believe it or not, and I'm still writing books for this series. I'm about to finish my 7th novel in the series, and I'm enjoying it still. I write one about once every 2 or 3 years.
So what is the basis of this? Is he just a detective in Harlem?
Well, he's a detective based in Harlem, but the interesting thing about Devil Barnett is he used to be an assassin for the CIA.
All right, okay.
And then he became a detective. So here was a guy who was an assassin, and he was a hitman. And then he kind of turned his life around as a result of some events, and decided that rather than knocking off people, he would like to help them solve some of their problems. And he became a detective. And that's books have been well received, and they're in libraries in the U.S. a lot. Yeah.
Tell me more about your screenplay writing and your authorship of work. So, what are you working on?
I've written a number of screenplays, and I've turned most of my Devil Barnett books into screenplays. So, at some stage, perhaps I will get them produced on someplace like Amazon or Netflix, and see what happens. And also, a lot of the work I've been doing in the past 10, 15 years has been for the stage. I've done 6 musicals, and I also did a trilogy, an African-American trilogy that spans 4 generations. And the first part of that trilogy is called Papa's Bathtub Gin, which was in Los Angeles in 2017. They did a reading, and it went well. So now they're talking about opening one of the theaters there next year with Papa's Bathtub Gin. And this past November, I just closed a show that I had in Camden in an Electrotechnics called Renew Your Hallelujah. That was a gospel musical that I had.
Yeah.
And people seem to like it, so we're trying to see where that's going to go. And previous to that, I had something called The Baskerville Beast, which was a musical based on the Sherlock Holmes story, The Hound of the Baskervilles. And that's why I'm in New York now. I'm talking with people about producing that here in the U.S. So I've just been writing and producing and doing what I've been doing for a long time now.
So what do you prefer? Do you prefer music production or video production, or do you prefer writing novels and screenplays?
I think probably I like theater, because theater is a very intense, interactive medium where when you've written something that works, you know it immediately because the audience will let you know. And I really like that aspect of it. And the fact that it's live every night.
Yes. It's always good to have a live audience, isn't it?
Oh, it's great to have a live audience. Because then you know if what you're doing is really working or not. There's no trick.
If the audience is quiet, you know you're doing a crap job. It's like, oh, no.
If you're doing something and nobody applauds, you'll say, got to change that.
Got to change that. Right.
You do it, and if it doesn't work, you go like, oh, man, I messed that one up.
Which I do quite often.
Yeah. We all do. That's just part of the process, isn't it?
Of course it is, yeah. Now, you're currently working with actor Anton Fargas. Now, for some of our listeners who don't know who Anton Fargas is, he used to be Huggy Bear from the TV series Starsky and Hutch.
Yes, well, I've talked to Antonio about working on our show Papa's Bathtub Gin, and we've been talking with his agents, and I met him in Los Angeles and in the UK, and we get on very well. And my director worked with Antonio Fargas many times, many years ago, in a movie that was actually directed and produced by Robert Downey Jr.'s father, called Putney Swope. So my director is Buddy Butler. And Buddy worked with Antonio a long time ago, and he put me in touch with Antonio. So we still don't know what's going to happen, but Antonio is definitely a potential part of the mix for a few of my upcoming projects.
Yes, I know, which you're not allowed to talk about. I know one's a film production and a possible feature film with a major Hollywood film company, which we're not supposed to mention.
Okay.
Right. Now, finally, is there anything you'd like to add? Is there any thank yous or messages to anyone that you'd like to reach out to?
Well, I want to thank my friend Richard Barnett, because he's a great connector. He connects the dots like no one else can. And I just want to take my hat off and give a big shout out to Richard Selwyn Barnett, who is the greatest publicity man around. If he go into business, I think he'll be a billionaire in about 3 years, because he has more connections than anybody, and I'm very grateful to be working with him. And I'm just working with people and looking for people who are interested particularly in making a commercial success out of theater. And our gospel show, we did very well with that, so we're trying to push that forward in the UK. And also the Baskerville Beast, which we know has an international audience, so we're looking for producers who may want to get involved with that as well. So those are
well, I might be able to contact. Yeah, I might be able to put you in touch with somebody there. So it's all about networking. This, you know what I mean?
Yes. So
what I'll do is after we finish this conversation, I'll actually tell you somebody, and I'll message them, and then we can go from there.